The scripture this morning is from Luke chapter 18, verses 31 through 43. Then Jesus took the 12 aside and said to them, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and everything that is written about the Son of Man by the prophets will be accomplished. For he will be handed over to the Gentiles, and he will be mocked and insulted and spat upon. After they have flogged him, they will kill him, and on the third day he will rise again." But they understood nothing about all these things. In fact, what he said was hidden from them, and they did not grasp what was said. As he approached Jericho, a blind man was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard a crowd going by, he asked what was happening. They told him, "Jesus of Nazareth is passing by." Then he shouted, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Those who were in front sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he shouted even more loudly, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and ordered the man to be brought to him. And when he came near, he asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" He said, "Lord, let me see again." Jesus said to him, "Receive your sight. Your faith has saved you." Immediately he regained his sight and followed him, glorifying God, and all the people, when they saw it, praised God. This is the word of God for the people of God.
With me in prayer. O Lord, may the words of my mouth and may the thoughts of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our rock and our redeemer, and let all God's people say, amen. So our 2019 stewardship campaign is called The Path to Generosity, and the path begins today with catching the vision. We give and we serve generously when we can see where we're going, right? When we can see where God is leading us as a church. The next step, next Sunday on the path to generosity, is seeing the impact of ministry. We give and we serve generously when we can tell that it's really making a difference. You will not want to miss. Next Sunday, we're going to do a cardboard testimony when members of Bethel International Church are going to boldly share how Jesus and the ministries of this church have changed their lives, how what we do makes a difference here. Then after that is touching the heart, that we'll hear a story from John's Gospel about a woman whose life was so changed, whose heart was so filled with love for Jesus, that she did not give a practical or a sensible gift. She gave a passionate and extravagant gift to him. And the path to generosity concludes October 27th with making a commitment. We will that Sunday together present our pledges of service and of financial giving together to God in the time of worship. I hope that you will receive within the next few days this pledge card in the mail. Carolyn and I got ours already on Friday. And it comes with a letter from Herb Shifley and me and a whole page of ministries, all sorts of ways for you to serve in and through our church. And when you get your card, for a few days, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take the card in your hand and all that it represents. And I want you to pray this simple prayer. God, what do you want to do through me? God, what do you want to do through me? Will you say it with me? God, what do you want to do through me? So catching the vision is where we start. Of course, every Sunday before worship, we rehearse our vision statement, right? Those of you who have been here a while probably can say it by heart. It is to be an amazingly international church where faith is contagious and invitational. That's the vision, which is not how our church already is. Not yet, right? That's where God is leading us. That's what God is trying to get us to become. There is a close relationship between vision and faith. The great theologian Richard Niebuhr once said that Christian conversion is a new way of seeing, that to become a Christian is a new way of seeing who Jesus is and who we are and who our neighbors are. Vision is that important. The old hymn, Amazing Grace, I think, gets it just right. Remember the words, I once was lost, but now am found. I was blind, but now I see. Vision and faith are all tied up together. And this relationship between vision and faith, it actually works both ways. It goes back and forth. On the one hand, we may not be able to really believe in an amazingly international church until we've kind of seen it, until somebody paints a picture of what it might look like in practice, until somebody kind of helps us know how we might get there. And you may not really believe that it's even possible. Bring somebody with you to church, except we've seen it happen, right? Becky Snyder has done it, and Dylan Newcomb, one of our youth, has brought kids, other high school kids with him to the Sunshine Ministry, and Carla and her son AJ Granger have brought a family from his baseball team to our church just in the last month. Sometimes seeing is believing. But sometimes it's just the other way around. Ralph Hodgson has written that some things just have to be believed in order to be seen. You hear that? Some things just have to be believed in order to be seen. One of the things that means, I think, is you can't do some big audacious thing in your life until you believe it can be done. And we may not be able to see a renewed, vibrant, growing congregation until we believe that God can do it. Or more to the point, in the words of our breakthrough prayer, until we believe that God can do it through us. So there is this relationship between seeing and faith. There are, of course, lots of things that hinder our vision, that get in the way of our spiritual sight. One of those things is opposition or conflict. In the Bible story today, you remember that this blind man cried out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And what did the disciples do? Did they quickly usher this man into Jesus' presence? They did not. They told him, be quiet, get out of the way. Apparently their vision of being a disciple did not include sharing the path with an old blind beggar. And yet the man persisted in his pursuit of Jesus, and yet Jesus welcomed him and healed him. Over the years in pursuit of vision, I've experienced a little opposition too. From time to time, I've encountered a little bit of conflict. And here's the thing. If your vision is not of God, you're never going to get there anyway. And if your vision is of God, take heart. Persist in your pursuit of vision. Another thing that can hinder our vision is disappointment and discouragement. I've been a pastor almost 30 years now, and for 30 years of ministry, I have been working towards a vision of a more inclusive United Methodist Church, a denomination that really is more welcoming and affirming of my LGBTQ friends. Been working towards that vision for 30 years, and last year at General Conference, not only did we not move towards that goal, we actually moved away from that goal. I have probably in 30 years of ministry, I've never been more discouraged than I was after that. But again, here's the thing. You never get where you're going by giving up. That discouragement can knock us down for a while, but it cannot take away our God-given vision. One other thing can hinder our vision. It's fear, especially fear of change. in that Bible story again, it begins with Jesus trying to explain to his disciples that he is going to have to be arrested, and he is going to have to be persecuted and suffer, and that he's going to have to die. And it says they didn't get it. Luke says that these things were hidden from them. They couldn't see it. Why couldn't they see it? Well, in chapter 9, when Jesus is explaining these things to them, it says that they heard him, but they were afraid to ask him. They were afraid to ask him. Change and loss are hard and scary. And so, it can be hard for us to see a church that we have known and loved for years become something different, even if that something different is good. And it can be hard for us even to see where God is leading the church next, because we work so hard to get the church to where it is right now. Fear of change can get in our eyes. So the blind man cries out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus asks him a very pointed question. Jesus says to the man, "What do you want me to do for you?" And immediately the man cries out, "Lord, let me see again." Now you might think that Jesus' question was pretty simple and straightforward, almost obvious. What do you want? Except we all answer that question sometimes in such trivial ways. What I want is a little more money. Or what I want is an A on the math test. Or what I want is some pizza, Or I want the Buckeyes to win again next week. Yeah, we do want all of those things. But what do you really want? If you could only pray one prayer for the rest of your life, I bet it wouldn't be for any of those things. And what do we want collectively? What do we want Jesus to do for our church? Well, again, we think, we want more money, or we want a fancier Facebook page, or we want a better preacher. Lord knows we want all those things. But what do we really want? Well, the Bible story today tells us we want to see. We want to be able to see again. This Bible story today is the final healing story in Luke's gospel. It's the last miracle that Luke tells. And you might expect that the final miracle would be some dramatic casting out of demons, or maybe Jesus raising somebody from the dead. I mean, Jesus did both of those things, but no. The ultimate healing is this story. It is the restoring of sight. It is Jesus granting vision to somebody who was crying out for mercy. What we really want, the ultimate healing, is to be able to see again. And too often in our lives, maybe in our families, too often in the church, we kind of muddle around in the dark. We piddle around in the dark, never lifting our eyes to the full glory of what God has in store for us. I mean, we go to work, we do our little stuff, we do our jobs at church, but where are we going? Where is God leading us in all of this? There's a story of two monks in the early church. Abba Lot was a young monk just kind of learning, and he turned to an older monk, his mentor, Abba Joseph. And Abba Lot said, "Abba, I say my little prayers every day. I fast sometimes. I try to get along with the other monks. I try to purify my little thoughts," he said. But Father, what else can I do? And the older monk lifted his hands towards heaven, and his fingers became like 10 lamps of fire. And he said, "If you will, you can become all flame." I want to become all flame, my friends. There is more to life. There is more to see than what is going on right now. So our vision, you notice, is not It is not to be an international church, right? That was the vision, and now we've done that. We're here at 9 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, this place will be filled with Korean worship, and in the afternoon, this place will be filled with Nepalese worship. That's a wonderful thing. Thank God for that. But I can see so much more. We could become all flame. We could be not an international church, but an amazingly international church. For example, what if, just thinking out loud, what if each one of us in this room right now, every single one of us, would make a commitment? We'd make a promise before God and one another that we are going to learn the names of 2 Korean members before the end of the year, right? You say, oh, well, I'd have to come earlier. I'd have to stay late. Or, oh, well, I wouldn't know what to say. Well, here's what to say. Annyeong haseyo. Can you say it with me? Annyeong haseyo. Again, annyeong haseyo. One more time and it's yours. Annyeong haseyo. It means, hi, how are you? It's what to say. You know, we can think of 1,000 reasons not to do this. But there it is. The vision of an amazingly international church. And it's sort of that simple. Or what about this? What if each one of us, every single person in this room, would make a commitment, a promise before God and one another that I am going to attend the Nepalese worship service just once in the next year. Oh, you know, I'd have to stay late again. You know, I wouldn't know the language. It would be awkward. We can think of 1,000 reasons not to do it. And there's that vision, of being an amazingly international church. Can I fuss with you one more? What if every single person in this room would make a commitment, a promise before God and one another? I am going to develop a new relationship with somebody from another country who is not already part of this church. It would be as simple as this: volunteer at our preschool. Those families are from all over the world. It's as simple as this: strike up a conversation with somebody at a restaurant or a coffee shop or a store that you go to all the time. Pastor Siong told us that he goes for a walk almost every day in a park behind the Walmart, and he says every day more than half of the people there are clearly from the Middle East. Tell them your name. Ask them their name. Take them a cup of coffee. Ask if you can pray for them. It's really that simple. It's, oh, you know, I couldn't do that. I'd step out of my comfort zone. And what if they don't know? There's 1,000 reasons not to do it, right? And there's that vision of being not an international church, but an amazingly international church. And it's really that simple. My friends, I can see it. I can see it. Can you see it too? If you can see it even just a little bit, would you raise your hand? Can you see it? Some of you can. My work is for every hand in this room to be up the next time I give this sermon, and it won't be too long. That's one part of our vision, to be an amazingly international church. It goes on, where faith is contagious and invitational. Contagious and invitational, which means that the music is so compelling. It means that the fellowship is so deep and sweet. It means that our reliance and our leaning on each other is so important that we just can't help it. We've got to tell people about it. It means, for example, that we're going to read the book Unbinding the Gospel in our small group. It means that we're going to work on what we'll say to family members and friends and neighbors. It means that we will step up and take the risk of saying the magic words, come and see. That's all you got to say. You just got to come and see what God is doing in this place. So what if, just thinking out loud here, what if every single one of us, everybody in this room would commit, would make a promise before God and one another to bring just one person with us every Sunday? Oh, too much. Let me try again. What if we made a commitment? Every one of us would bring just one person with us once a year. Bring one person with you once a year. in a couple of years, it would absolutely transform this congregation to be contagious and invitational. And I, for one, I can see it. Can you see it too? If you can see us being that way, would you raise your hand? A few. I got some more work to do. Or maybe some of you, your arms don't work. I don't know. I want to add one more thing to that. I can see a church that is filled with children and families. You know how I cry every time children sing about Jesus. I can see it. And not because children are the future of the church, which of course they are, but because children are the present of the church. When Jesus wanted to show people a model of Christian faith, he showed them a little child. Now, I know it messes with us. Oh, you fill the place with children and worship would get all unruly. Oh, I know you fill the place with children. And some of us adults might have to let go of our precious meeting space because the children need it. Oh, I know you fill the place with children and there might be crayon marks on the wall and red pop spills on the floor. I know there's 1,000 reasons not to do it. But once upon a time, and some of you are old enough to remember it, once upon a time, this church was filled with children. I can see it happening again. Can you? Would you raise your hand if you can see this place filled with children? I got more work to do, don't I? Some of you aren't seeing it. And it's my job to help you see it. And I am going to do it. At the conference that Herb Shifley and I went to about a week and a half ago on church leadership in the United Methodist Church, Adam Hamilton, the presenter, showed us this video. It's just a short clip, part of a song from the movie The Greatest Showman. Some of you may have seen it. It's about P.T. Barnum and the circus. Watch.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. The sharpest words wanna cut me down. I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me.
People of every sort and condition, all singing and dancing and loving each other together. I want to be a church that looks like that. The man came to Jesus and he said, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus asked him that pointed question, what do you want me to do for you? And he said, Lord, let me see again. We give and we serve generously when we can see where we're going, where we can see where God is leading us. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, but how are we going to get there? You know, what's the plan? Soon enough. Soon enough. But today, our prayer is this. Lord, let us see. And I, for one, I can see clearly now. The rain notwithstanding, I can see clearly